Hello and welcome back to another installment of Poke Fodder. Today I'm going to continue with showing games from the in-guild tournament that I'm currently involved in. Not because I have a lack of content and not because there aren't fun and exciting things to talk about, explore, but because the deck that you see here is the deck that I ran in the first game. And as you can see, this is Ninkata. One of the new, I believe he's an EX, if I'm not, or not an EX. He's an uncommon, if I'm not mistaken. I'm pretty sure he's an uncommon. And then I also have the Ninjask evolution, which is a rare. And then it's either Cobalion, as some of you say, or Cobalion, or Cobalion, Cobalion, Cobalion. Cobalion. We're just going to go with that. Cobalion. Cobalion? That works too. But anyways. And then we have the Noibat to Noivern evolution as well. So in my first game that you're going to see, and I've already recorded it, so I'm going to try to do the voiceover again, which is not actually my preferred method to do videos. I feel like because I'm doing commentary retrospectively, I feel like it's not quite as authentic as in the moment as to what I'm thinking. And there are a lot of times when I'm going back and doing the voiceover where I will see something like, oh, wow, I missed XYZ, or ABC would have been a better option here. And when I do my analysis in-game, then I can kind of go over what my thought process is. So when I miss ABC or, 1, 2, 3, at least you, the viewer, kind of have an idea of what my mindset is in that moment. So it's a little bit different dynamic that I'm not a big fan of for me personally. I know other YouTubers and streamers go back and give great analysis, and they can look at things retrospectively and go through and talk about what they were thinking in that moment for the most part, what they could have done differently. And so it works for them, just not my preferred style, but diversity to the channel. So here we go. We're going to jump in. Again, I'm doing best 2 out of 3 for the video. And I'm not going to give away any spoilers other than this is the first deck that I run. And I run more than one deck. So read into that what you will. But here we go. Starting off, I know nothing about my opponent. I don't have any clues as to what deck he's running, playstyle, anything like that. Where before, I kind of knew that my opponent was going to run a Deoxys deck. So as I mentioned, the deck you saw is the deck that I opened with. Zapdos, Sceptile, Heatran, Ninkata, and Noibat. So what I do is I open with a long throw of Ninkata because he has a weight 10. Now the reason why I do this is because Noibat, his passive is when he enters the field, it removes the weight off of all your Pokemon. So in essence, I long throw Ninkata out and then bring Noibat in second, and my weight 10 is completely gone, and I have 2 Mons on the board, so it's not a hindrance at all running it this way. My opponent brings out Leafeon to match up. I have no idea why I clicked on that, but as you can see, so there goes my weight 10, and it didn't hinder me at all. So he takes Mew, goes back towards his goal. Pretty standard openings here. I take Cobalion. We're just going to call him Cobalion here. I don't know if that's right or not. I'm going to call him Koba. So Koba comes out, and then he throws his Trevenant out on the corner. I enact my Steel Energy, which what that's going to do is Koba is going to go from 101 to 111, but I actually have a chain level on him, I think. So he's going to go up to 112. Which is going to be able to cover Trevenant if the situation ever arises. My Heatran is also protected by the steel energy, which is going to make his 112, I believe, up to 122. So my opponent brings out Virizion to the inner corner, which is good. I don't have to worry about the Virizion cheese. And because I have a flying type in Noibat, protecting my goal, I don't have to worry about him soaring all over the place. And now I have Zapdos on that side of the field as well, just to prevent the shenanigans that is Virizion. I take Koba over to my Noibat because now what that's going to do is that's going to protect Noibat against gold attacks. And I go ahead and just straight up attack, land the very fortunate Thunder Crash on top of the Typhoon Slash, and boom, he's down him on, and I'm in great position. And I'm really not sure why he attacks here. I know there's very few outcomes of where I actually knock out Mew in Zapdos versus Mew. But at the same time, I don't know if there's a whole lot of situations where Mew knocks out Zapdos as well. So not really sure why the attack went down there. Take my Heatran out. He's probably not going to fall for the Heatran Surround at this point, and I can apply pressure and spread out, taking more ownership of the board. I rush him down forward because he has nobody on that side of the field that can compete with my 122. And I get put to sleep. Respin doesn't do me any good. So unfortunately now I have one of my Pokemon on his entry point, but nowhere near any of my other Pokemon that I can get to unsleep. I get the fortunate, again, I don't know why he attacked, but he lands the white and I take him out. So now I need to get over and unsleep my Heatran because he's kind of just a dead piece over there on the board. I go after I don't want to get slept again, although I could get iced. And I did the double chance because I didn't want something bad to happen on his end of the field. It works out in my favor. Now I'm threatening his goal, which means all he can do is move somebody back to cover, but that's going to allow me to get Heatran back awake at this point. And things are going really well so far at this point. Getting the good rolls. I like the way the board is set up. There's no need to attack Virizion there. I know I've got him covered, but right now I'm in control, and I don't want to attack on my turn in that situation where if I lose, then it gives him an opportunity. So he wants to come after my Sceptile, and I've got chain levels over him with my Sceptile, but it doesn't matter because he double chances into the 140 spin. I landed the 31. So I lose my first Mon. I hop over to the entry point and then back attack because if I knock him out, now he's down to just 3 Pokemon and I have his entry points covered. He makes pretty quick work of my Noibat there, quite honestly. So here I attack with my Nincada, and that didn't work out either, but because he's Nincada like Magikarp, he doesn't get removed to the PC. In fact, he just evolves, but he also revives my Sceptile and pulls him out. So now my Sceptile is ready to go on my next turn, which is great for me. He's going to take this opportunity to threaten my goal. And right off the bat, my goal is being threatened. I have no option but to bring Sceptile out. And Sceptile rolls the monster. Crisis averted. Now I have his entry points blocked up, and he only has 2 Pokemon on the field, and one of them is a 1 MP Pokemon. I'm feeling really good at this point. He takes Trevenant over, attacks, And again, landing the gold to knock the manipulative out, which leaves him with one Pokemon on the field, but his Empoleon is still available. Because his Empoleon is a long throw built in, I go ahead and leave Sceptile back, but move Ninjask up to threaten Leafeon to see what he wants to do. And he comes out with his long throw. It's built in, it's Divine Entry. And I just go over and cover up my goal. Basically, I just don't want a counterattack breakaway. He back attacks, and I get the Magma Slide, which is going to burn him. But it's also going to push him closer to my goal. I attack Leafeon because I have the 50 to the 40, land the dodge. I was trying to put it away there. And because his Empoleon was burned, it's doing 10 less damage on attacks. And his dodge turns to a miss section. He rolls the 31, which I easily take care of. We're going to press Sceptile because now I want to make him be aggressive for his game, basically, at this point. But he breaks out the Max Revive. And here comes Empoleon again. Now, I totally missed the surround there. I was so tunnel visioned on knocking out Leafeon that I easily could have surrounded, and that probably would have been game right there. But I totally missed it. He attacks with Empoleon, lands the gold onto my purple, and now it's 2v3, although I will get Noibat back out. But Noibat isn't a huge offensive threat on his own. So by making that mistake of missing the surround, all of a sudden, like I put myself in a tight spot here. Fortunately, I get the Magma Slide, and he didn't press towards my goal. He's trying to get his entry points open. I take Noibat and cut off any advancement options that he might be thinking about. He's going to try to put my Heatran to sleep. Luckily for him, he gets the dodge. But I'm trying to let him knock his own Pokemon out at this point. But Heatran comes up big with the 112. I don't know if that was the right play. Maybe I should have moved Sceptile up to the inner corner and kept his entry points trapped. Because now he has a lot of options. He can take Virizion, or he can take Mew. Fortunate for me, he doesn't land his gold into my purple. And that's going to be game one. So my late game was pretty weak, quite honestly, if I'm being candid with everyone. But we pulled out the victory nonetheless, and now it's time for game two. Again, since I didn't know my opponent, I don't know what his tendencies are, but I imagine he's probably going to switch up his deck, which he does. But I also switched up my deck to kind of keep him on his toes, so he didn't know what to expect. And if he had built a deck to counter the first deck I played, I wanted to have something different out there. So I break out my double dragons, and this was a huge risk on my part because I just don't run my dragons very often. They are so fly happy, and I can't control it. And I just don't feel like I do real well when running them, despite the fact that they're ridiculously strong. So here he comes out and opens, he wants to set up the matchups. And at this point, if I have to do something, I feel like. So I go ahead and just throw Moltres out on the corner. I figure Moltres isn't a great matchup against Mew, but I'm not super worried about the Mew matchup per se. As far as, I think Moltres is just kind of a good matchup against most of his team. I take my Terrakion, which is going to counter both his Mew and to an extent his his Empoleon a little bit. Kind of opening the board. There's no, like, I don't know what I was thinking other than now Mew has the option of taking his entry point. He brings Poliwhirl up to my Mew, which I'm not super concerned about simply because Mew is level 5. Although he does have the Manaphy on the board, so it means that Poliwhirl is going to be able to take out most. I don't know if there's any favorable spins for Mew, actually. He jumps down the lane, triggers the evolution to get it this Gyarados, which is going to be, I think it's base 130 damage. I don't remember if he has any chain levels. I'm sure he does. So now he's doing 130 damage, and I don't have anything that can compete with that. I guess my Reshiram, if I do Overdrive. Checking out his plates, he starts protecting Manaphy. Oh, and you know what? He did that. I guess I could have hopped over with Moltres, but not really, because then he could have just Divine Entry with Empoleon and put me in a tight spot there. He attacks, and the 133 is just nasty, quite honestly. Gyarados with the Manaphy on the field is one of the most ridiculous Pokemon in the game right now. I'm in a little bit of a tight spot here. I don't know what to do. Like, I don't want Gyarados just to have free run to my goal, but I also don't want Gyarados taking out everything that I have in the process of going to my goal. No, there's no real rhyme or reason. Just I'm trying to set up a little bit of a defense to make it as tough as possible for him to get to my goal with Gyarados. And that is my biggest concern at the moment, is where is Gyarados and what is Gyarados doing? And then Poliwhirl decides he's going to take out my Mew, which I kind of expected just because Poliwhirl is such a... With Manaphy on the board, Poliwhirl is so good, especially against Mew. Poliwhirl just hammers Mew for the most part. And I really don't know what I want to do here. I'm trying to think of what are my wheels, what is a good... I want to keep him off my entry points, but I don't know whose wheel is good against Poliwhirl. And I know Sceptile's is not, because if I roll the white, it's going to switch over into my gold, which Poliwhirl covers. And, you know, my best bet is for Poliwhirl to attack into me and for me to get the removal, since I have Zekrom on the board as well. I honestly, I didn't know what my next play was here. So I just pull Moltres out. I don't know if that was the best play, but I really don't know what to do. I don't necessarily want to press forward with Sceptile, and there's really nowhere to go if I do. But again, I like I said, I don't know where my next best play is. I chose not to respin there because I didn't want to get surrounded, and I didn't want to set up, like, I just don't know. I'm kind of indecisive. So I go ahead and hop over to threaten his goal because I know I can't be surrounded. But I've got to do something because I don't like who my Pokemon are set up against on my end of the board. I don't like my matchups. And I've got to get him thinking something other than offensive. So by forcing him to be defensive, I get the surround kill on Gyarados, which was huge. I was so excited at this point about that. But now I allowed myself to get in a huge problem here. I don't want to leave the goal open to Typhoon Slash, but I don't want to get my Reshiram surrounded either. I have a lot of options. I just don't know, and I take a long time to think about this. I can close off. I'm going to lose Reshiram, and ultimately I decided better to lose Reshiram than to lose the game. And I don't plate Zekrom. I end up attacking with Zekrom, and I don't plate because I want to keep Zekrom as a Mew eliminator. Had I plated him, I would have rolled 102, and that would have eliminated the Typhoon Slash. So now I'm in a world of trouble. Not only did I lose Zekrom and the ability to eliminate Pokemon, but I also gave him free reign at my goal. He double chances with the Typhoon Slash, but I roll the blue. The biggest blue at that moment in time. Huge, huge, huge spin right there. I attack with Moltres, he gets the Typhoon Slash. And the reason why I did that is because had I backed Reshiram over, he was still going to get a swing at my goal. But the 102 comes through clutch. The one chain level there pulls it out, which would have happened with Zekrom had I overdrived. But because I was trying to be greedy and leave Zekrom as a Mew killer, it didn't work out, and he ended up getting knocked out. I attack Mew to try to go for the goal, because now he's not threatening at all. Half of his Pokemon are lined up on one little side over there. That stupid Max Revive. Brings out Gyarados, and Gyarados promptly storms me back to the bench, basically eliminating the threat that I had. So now I have to release his Pokemon off of the sideline there, which he goes, takes my entry point, and luckily spins me into the 105. I go ahead and overdrive because now I can cover Gyarados. And I'm hoping that by having the 135 attack into his 133, I believe, is what he has, is a deterrent from him trying to attack me with Gyarados. It was a complete stall tactic as far as what I was trying to do. Bring out Sceptile because I have the possibility of running the 142 on the double spin here. And I'm hoping, my thought is just neutralize Gyarados at this point. And I feel like those two Pokemon neutralized him. I have no real positive spins here unless he rolls white. So that was a pretty safe attack on Mew's part there. A lot of upside. The only downside was he could get banished, which is a huge downside, but most likely it was going to be a neutral turn to a his win. Boop. The nice little, I think it was a stealth hit, is that what it's called? Allows me to get yet another surround on Gyarados. And again, I've eliminated his biggest threat off the board. Attacking, I didn't have to attack here, but by attacking, I was kind of going for the jugular. Like, knock him out. I have one entry point. He's gonna bring Virizion back out. But instead of having 4 Pokemon, he's only gonna have 3 Pokemon, and I'm gonna be able to take his entry. Or he just caps his entry, which still leaves me with the 4-on-3 advantage. Pretty happy about the way things are going at this point. Moltres jumps up, and I don't have a good plan for Mew with these Pokemon. But what I can do is he's going to have to make a move. Like he either has to take Virizion off of his entry point or move Mew back. At which case, and see, there you go. But by doing that, I didn't remember doing this. I thought about taking Moltres next to Manaphy, but then I realized Poliwhirl could come out. And I just don't want to give Virizion access to my goal. So I go ahead and try to be offensive here, and I land the roost. I was trying to go for the win right there, simply because Virizion next to an unattended goal, which having one Pokemon there is kind of unattended to me, is so scary. I pull Reshiram back just in case I get knocked out here. But once again, we come up with the lucky 102 spin, and he doesn't hit the Typhoon Slash. So basically, Terrakion has held off Virizion 3 times on the goal, which is ginormous. I wouldn't count on that happening every game, quite honestly. Just trying to remember what goes on at this point. I've got him blocked off pretty good. So I take a shot at the goal again. Like, there are no better moves, I don't think. And he can't bring anybody out this round. My Sceptile. So I figured it was a calculated attack, but I didn't realize that he could bring his Mew around. And maybe I did in the moment, but I felt like the risk was worth it. Because if I knock out Manaphy, it weakens his Pokemon, and it puts me in a position to threaten the game. And by losing Sceptile, it also allowed me to bring Zekrom back out onto the field. And having played against the Dragons, I can say that, yeah, while there's 8 miss on Reshiram and pretty sizable flyaway pieces on the 2 Dragons, it's really intimidating to attack into them because one bad spin can lead to banishment, and playing a Pokemon down is really, really difficult. I didn't even see that, quite honestly. And I just, there was no other reason than I just didn't see that one. It's a pretty bad play there. So still making some mistakes. Trying to being more focused on closing off lanes and protecting my Pokemon, things of that nature, missing surrounds. It still happens, and I'm still working on eliminating them. And then probably, I'm trying to think of what happens next, but there's a pretty big moment in the game here that I think kind of turns the tide. Because if you see, I'm down on time by 20-something seconds. And I go for the attack, and I land Fly, but it spins me over into the elimination. And I think that completely turned the game around, because now he's going to be playing 4-on-3 the rest of the time. And that's such a huge disadvantage. I honestly don't even remember how this ends. But now his most potent threat is almost half a miss. Probably I'd say 40 to 45% of a miss. And with Manaphy, who's not a huge offensive threat, and with Mew out there, who's not a huge offensive threat, he doesn't have a whole lot of firepower out on the board. Yeah, he still has his Gyarados, but he scoops him up. So that was a good play. I just go for the win. Like, at this point, I could sit back. I am down on time. But I decided to go for the win, to be a little aggressive. And I don't even know how I made up so much time. Like, 4 plays ago, I was 20 seconds down. And now I'm up on time. He uses Manaphy's Song. This is a really good play here. So he uses Manaphy's Song to move his Gyarados up 1, and then because he had weight, he used Hurdle Jump to drop him onto my entry point, which then forces me to be reactive with Moltres. Boom. Out goes Sceptile. I again attack the goal. Again with the Manaphy Song. Which there's nothing he can do, because he doesn't want to give his Gyarados weight and then have to move his Mew. And this is what I'm scared of with Gyarados, quite honestly, is he can do so much damage when he gets on a roll. He can literally walk through your team, but he's terrible against Mew, which is my one little saving grace. As you can see, I'm just putting up a wall of defense here. in hindsight, maybe I should have attacked with Reshiram instead of bringing Zekrom out, because then that wouldn't have allowed him to take his Gyarados and attack Moltres. I finally get the knockout, but Reshiram has I don't know if Reshiram has any favorable spins against Mew unless Mew rolls his white, which is only about a 25% chance of that, depending on how it's leveled up. I think it's still 25%. Yeah, at this point, his best bet is to go with Gyarados. My two goalies, Terrakion and Moltres in this situation, rolling 3 blues, I think, against very potent attackers on the goal was huge for me. And then the Terrakion rolling the... Wait, did I attack there? No, he attacked me. Okay. I go for the win. And this is actually not a terrible matchup. Zekrom has very favorable matchups against Mew, completely threatening his goal. But he's so out of time at this point that I guess I could completely just back off. He gets the Typhoon Slash there. I go ahead and just surround Gyarados, because at this point I feel like that's game. With Gyarados not knocking on my goal, I don't really feel like there's anything I have to worry about. I have 3 Pokemon on my back line, Sceptile and Moltres, which are very strong. Mew is not a good matchup against Empoleon in any way, shape, or form, but he has so little time that if I can just make him have to work through 3 different Pokemon, and especially with Virizion being on his goal, that makes it even more difficult for him to be able to get down to my side of the board efficiently. So I completely go defensive mode here. I really feel like this game probably would have lasted quite a while. But being down a Pokemon, I think eventually I could have capped off his endpoints. This one ends up being a timeout win at this point. He was just stuck. I obviously I didn't feel bad for him because it's a competition and a tournament, but Manaphy's not helping anything at this point. One of his water Pokemon is gone. So we get the timeout win, and we move to 2 wins and no losses. Some mistakes were made in there, and I've got to continue to work to clean those up. Letting people get surrounded and then missing some surrounds eventually will cost you games, and it's cost me games before. So I really need to work on cleaning those up. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope that you can see that there's really not one particular deck that is running the show right now. I used 2 wildly different decks and ended up being successful with both of them for different reasons. But keep working with Pokemon. They don't all have to be EX Pokemon. Keep working with different synergies to find what fits your play style and Pokemon that you can win with, because there are a lot of options of teams that can be successful in today's game. I hope you enjoyed this. I think we'll probably get a Gym Cup starting tomorrow, and if so, we'll do a video on that. But until next time.